so we're going to do genetics problems. I'm just going to run you through a few of them, how to get you started on your genetics problem homework, which looks like this. Okay, it is in, I will post it in Canvas as an announcement. So make sure you print it off and that you try to do the genetics problems. This lecture is just to try to get you started on this. Okay, so I'm going to go through the first one just to point out a couple of things. It says in man, the gene for non-blue eyes is dominant over the gene for blue eyes. So if you just write down, first of all, what they're telling you, you say non-blue is dominant, and then you say blue is the recessive allele. All right, so that's how you kind of approach the problem. And if it says if two non-blue-eyed parents, so what would they be? If they're non-blue-eyed parents, they have 4 children, 2 non-blue-eyed and 2 blue-eyed. So what do you think they'd be? They'd probably be this times this. And the reason why I'm saying that is because they had to get a blue-eyed child. In order to be a blue-eyed child, remember, you have to be little a, little a. So this 2 non-blue-eyed parents would be capital A, little a, times capital A, little a. And you're going to end up with a possibility of blue-eyed kids. Now, the common misconception is saying 2 non-blue-eyed children, and that makes you think that you have to come up with 2 here. Remember that this is a probability table. What that means is that I have a 25% chance of being little a, little a. So I could have 10 children, and they could all be blue-eyed. Or I can have 10 children, and they could all be brown-eyed, and I have a 75% chance of being non-blue-eyed than I do. I have more of a probability. So it's more likely that I'd be that, but I could still, this is just a probability. So that's something to keep in mind as you go through these problems. Okay, the second problem is talking about the cows. So I'm just going to go through this because it's asking you what the phenotypes of everything is. And what they're saying is, the polled hornless trait in cattle is dominant. So the first thing you do is you write down the dominant trait. This is polled. And it says the horn trait is recessive. So the little a is horned. All right. So then it says a certain polled bull. So if the bull, what would the bull have to be? So the bull, in order to be polled, has to be either a, or a, little a. You don't really know. So the way I usually write that is this question, right? So you don't have to write all of that out. It said, is mated to 3 cows. Cow A, which is horned, so cow A, she's horned. So what is she going to be? She's going to be little a, little a. And she gives birth to a polled calf. So her calf is going to be capital A something, and that's going to be capital A, little a. So you still don't really know about the bull because he could have just donated that gene. Then cow B, she is also horned. So she's little a, little a. She gives birth to a horned calf. So now you know that the bull had to be that because he had to give the recessive gene as well as her recessive gene to make the calf. And then it says cow C is polled. So she is a something, and she produces a horned calf. So now what do you know about her? She has to be that. So when you get done reading the problem and writing everything that you know, you're pretty much done with what they asked you to do. So that's how you approach that. Okay, now we're going to do question number 4. Just wanted to point out about question 4. So this is about 4 o'clocks, and you might remember we were talking about incomplete dominance. What that means is, let's say, for example, I have red flowers, So I normally would think the darker color is dominant over the recessive gene of white, but in this case, the heterozygous condition is equal to pink. So this is a case of incomplete dominance, and when you do these problems, you can keep track of it like this, which is actually not officially correct, because these are really kind of genes that are weighted equally as opposed to dominant recessive. But you could do the problem like this, or you could do it like A prime, well, let's do it this way, A red and A prime white, and the heterozygous, of course, is pink. Okay, so either way you can do it. I think it's just easier to keep track this way, but so I'm going to do it that way. So it says what kind of ratios of plants would occur if, in regard to flower color, if red is crossed with red. So that's pretty easy, right? Red and red, and of course we're going to get all red. So anytime they're asking you for something like this, make sure you show the entire Punnett square. So all red. Then it says, in regard to flower color, if red is crossed with pink. So red crossed with pink is going to give you 50% red and 50% pink. Right? So you kind of see how to do that problem. Okay, the next one I'm going to do is question number 7. This is about a pedigree. I mainly am doing this because I wanted to show you how to think about these problems. Okay, so this is it's showing you, it says females are circles and males are squares. Of course males are squares. Just kidding. All right, and it's also saying that the filled in means that they have the problem. In this case, it's feeble-minded. So in this case, this female was feeble-minded, and she married a male that was not. And these other people were normal. So this is the parent generation. This is the F1. Okay, then it's showing that this couple had 3 children. Female, male that is feeble-minded, and another female. 1, 2, 3. So this is the F2. And it's asking which ones of these can you figure out what the problem is. So this is a recessive trait. So this is normal-minded, and this is feeble. Okay, so the question is, who can I figure out? All right. So from this cross up here, what do I know about that? So I know that they're normal, so they have to be capital A something, each of them. But I also know that they produced a feeble-minded individual. So that means that they are this. So I can figure that out fairly easily. This one I also know because it's feeble-minded, so that's pretty clear. And over here, these guys, I don't necessarily know because they could be capital A something, both of them. They could be capital A because I could get that, or capital A little a as my combination. So both F1, 3, and 4, I don't really know. What about the F2? So from the F2, this one is feeble-minded. So what do I know about the dad? I know that the dad has to carry the little a gene. All right? So then these guys also have to be capital A because they're normal, little a, and capital A, little a. So pretty much everyone in the problem I can figure out, but these 2 individuals. All right? So the last problem I'm going to do is number 13. This is the one about the blood typing, or the the problem with the blood. All right, and what this problem says, it says Mrs. Doe and Mrs. Rowe had babies in the same hospital, and Mrs. Doe took home a girl, Nancy. So Doe took home Nancy, and Mrs. Rowe then took home a boy, Richard. Okay, so we have a co-student in the class. All right, so however, she was sure Mrs. Rowe thought that she had a girl, and so she brought suit against the hospital. It said blood tests showed that Mr. Rowe was type O. So Mr. Rowe is type O. So O, remember, is the recessive allele, and I'm just doing the shorthand here instead of the thing with the eyes that I showed you before. And let's see, Mrs. Rowe was type AB. So Mrs. Rowe was AB. So their possible genotypes for their children are either A or B, both carrying the recessive allele. All right? Mr. and Mrs. Doe were both type B. So I don't know if they were capital B, or capital B, little b, or, you know, O, really, in this case. But I'm going to just do it with the O, because otherwise we just all get, we'd get all B blood type. All right? So we have BO, PO, and OO. Okay, so those are the possibilities if they each carried the recessive allele. All right, so Nancy was type A. So Nancy is type A something. And Richard is type O. And they're asking, had the exchange occurred? And if you look at this, of course, these guys, these parents could not have produced that. And these parents could have. And these parents could not have produced that, but these parents could have. Right? So the exchange had occurred. That's it. That's all.